Hey everyone, our guest for today is Srijan Bhardwaj. Now, Srijan is the tribe builder and digital marketing expert. Srijan is an internet entrepreneur who has mentored and coached over 40,000 people on how they can generate more traffic, leads, sales, and revenue for their businesses. Till date, he has generated over $5 million dollars in revenue. With all his experience in digital businesses, he's now on a mission to help and impact 1 million plus lives by 2022. Srijan is currently the co founder of Digital Dukandar and CEO of Blistro Videos. Thanks for being on the show, Srijan. How are you feeling?
Yeah, pretty good. And just for the last part, like I'm no longer the CEO of Blistro Videos. This is something that I recently came out with. So yeah, otherwise all good. Currently in Goa, which is
Hmm.
called the beach capital of India, and exploring. Last year, my plan was to travel for 100 days, which was cut short because of COVID, like
Uh
a
huh.
lot of our plans. So this year, I'm planning to do 150 days of travel.
Lovely. How many days has it been so far this year?
I would say somewhere around 25, 27.
All right.
Yeah.
Lovely. So let's start off with what's been your story, Srijan? I How did you find this entrepreneurial worm inside you? And
Mhm.
how has your entrepreneurial journey been so far?
So my journey started in my school time. Okay, I was a studious kid who was also into sports. So I used to play 5 6 hours every single day in my school, then back coming at home. In summer vacations, I even used to play more. So by the time my school ended, most of my friends who were like, you have some really close friends, they were the most popular ones in the school. And I spent my 14 years of schooling while never talking to a single girl, like never going to a girl and say even a hi. That was how shy and underconfident I was as a child when I was in school. So what happened was I realized at my school farewell that these 14 years are now never going to come back. And in a way, I'm also happy with what I have been through and what I have learned, but I also had the yearning to do something more. So I decided that I would go to a college where none of my friends is going to be there. So I can create a new identity and I'll be having no fear that if I fail, someone else is going to know and he's going to keep a log that, oh, you failed this, because most of the people around us are our mistake journals. They keep us reminding of that you did this wrong, you did that wrong. So I
Right,
went to a
right.
college. The goal was to be popular. I came in contacts with my senior. I asked them how to be popular. They told me that do something different. So I started selling party passes in the first year itself, membership passes.
Okay.
Slowly, I started moving towards hosting club parties, pool parties, and also moved towards raising sponsorship. And my goal was never to go into business or entrepreneurship. So even when I joined BTech, I knew that I did not want to do engineering, but I was going for engineering for two reasons. That one, it is a 4 year course, and if I have to go to US or UK, then engineering is considered a professional degree. If you go for DU, then you have to do like at least a master's or something like that. And secondly, my math was good. I knew that four is greater than three. So if I go to engineering, I have 4 years to explore something
Mm-hmm.
versus 3 years in DU. So I was pretty like clear that I don't want to go for an engineering job. My mindset was I'll find something, and by the end of the first 3 years as well, while I was doing all of the side hustles, my mindset was that I could go for a marketing or a sales job, or maybe a PR person. And in the second year, I had came across this college senior who had recommended me that start building a website. Like my biggest problem was I was not able to scale my side hustles. So this was back in 2012. He recommended that build a website. So if anyone is interested, he'll just come see on your website the details, fill out a form, and then you can contact that person. Otherwise, I was spending a lot of time in calling people, prospecting, going to their offices, giving them presentations. So I thought it's a good idea. Like I could see the utility. And while I was learning how to build a website, because you could not outsource that part, and if you could, I did not have that money. I realized that okay, so if you build a website, people won't come themselves. So if I have to rank my website on how to find sponsorships in Delhi, I have to do that. So that is how I got to know about SEO, and that was my beginning for the online world. And this was in 2012. So there were only two YouTubers or bloggers back then. One was Pat Flynn, and the other was Neil Patel. So I binged on their content as much as I could. And by 2015, I made my first rupee online in April. And I remember I made like 3,000 rupees in a couple of days, then 5,000 or 7,000 rupees by the end of the month. And I decided I had got three placements. I was placed in Accenture and Infosys, for which I gave the college interviews and the college campus drive. And I
Yeah.
was also placed in Flipkart, where I did not even give an interview, but they got a referral for me from someone. And in Flipkart, I was getting 45 to 50,000 rupees back in 2015 as a starting salary. But I thought that, okay, so if I have done so much work in my college, like I'd worked with United Nations a couple of times, I'd worked with Star, Nokia, Channel V, a lot of different projects, free charge. So I thought if I can work with these companies right now, and if I have also generated a few bucks online, let's take this leap of faith. Let's see if this can work. If this does not work, I always have the option of going back to a job, because now I knew my worth कि job तो लगी चुकी ना, so ये लग सकती है दोबारा. Like
Right.
I have the confidence, I have the skills. So
Right.
that was the whole mindset of starting out.
Awesome. And that was a brilliant journey. And so, this is how you found the entrepreneurial worm inside you, by just randomly finding that you can generate results online, digitally. And then you decided to ditch the path of corporate life, of working a 9 to 5, and essentially the life of trading your time for money. And you decided to take the entrepreneurial route. Now, the
Hmm.
entrepreneurial route is, you would agree, it's the most hard part about being an entrepreneur and being your own boss, is to be a good one, is to be a good boss to yourself. Because
Right.
all our life we have been taught to just take orders and just do them as others are saying to us. Now there's
Hmm.
nobody to guide us, there's nobody to tell us what to do, and all we
Yeah.
got to do is own the 24 hours that we have and manage it as well as we can. And
Right.
that's in direct proportion with the output, with the success that we're going to achieve. Now, how hard was it for you to be able to optimize your 24 hours, to actually own your 24 hours, and to become an efficient entrepreneur? Yeah.
Okay, so I would say that, see, when people talk about being an entrepreneur is pretty much overhyped. People are selling the dream that if you see ads in US right now, what they tell you is that if you become an entrepreneur, you don't have to work 9 to 5 to build someone else's dream. You can build yours. They show you a Lamborghini, they show you stacks of money, and all that is glory, and not everyone reaches there. So the first thing is that you need to understand which level do you want to reach. So when I was 20, I read this book, or 19, I think, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Oh, yes.
And I had a dream that at one point of time, by the time I am 28, I'll be financially free. Okay, so I'll buy 100 units of real estate, and every single month I'll get at least 3 lakh rupees minimum in passive income. And with time, I'll scale it to 6 lakh rupees, and that will take care of my basic needs. Now, this was me thinking about these things at 19. By the time I completed my engineering and I started my own startup, I realized that buying even one real estate is very difficult in India, especially because the book was written in according to what is happening in US.
US.
So that is when I realized that, okay, so maybe 100 is out of my, like, league right now. It's not my main focus. So what is it that I want to achieve? I started working. I had set smaller goals. I had never the goal of becoming a multi-billionaire in the beginning. Later on, yes, I did that, get that goal for a while, but then I also dropped it off. So I would say the first one is understanding who you are and what you want. So for me, my basic understanding was very simple, that if I can get 25,000 rupees a month as my basic income for the first year, my parents, my family will be pretty much sorted, because that is what I was essentially getting in a job. If I exclude like Flipkart, which I did not tell my family for the very same reason. So my first goal was that itna to kar lo ki, you get to 20 to 25,000 rupees, for which it took me, I would say, 18 19 months to reach that level, to do that for the 2 3 times consecutively. So that was my first goal. Once I reached that, now my second goal was, okay, so I have reached 25,000 rupees. How about now I think of 1 lakh rupees as the next target? Then I did 1 lakh. And then I thought, okay, how about now I think of 10 lakh rupees as the next target? And then I kept on increasing my target. And at one point of time, I became over enthusiastic. I thought I want to become a billionaire. This was in 2017. I remember I did a program where they taught us how to get high ticket clients. I started that program in 2018. And what happened was I was again going into the same loop that, if I am able to get $10,000 clients every single day, I'll be making $300,000 per month. And then I did all the math. And in a couple of weeks, again, I realized that it was not something I wanted. It was just something that was being like I was consuming from the internet that you have to become a billionaire. And I asked myself, where is it that I want to go? Where is it that I want to stop? Because like you were saying that, when you have someone to give you orders, they tell you there is a hard stop, there is a soft spot, soft stop. So you need to practically understand. So for example, if you take a new car out of the showroom, the guy who sold you the car, he'll tell you that don't drive it above 180, and the maximum that you can do is 190. The 180 is the soft stop, the 190 is the hard stop. So that is when I mentally got to understand in 2020 that I have to set up my hard stop and my soft stop. So my hard stop then became that I want to live a good life where I have the freedom, because like you were saying earlier that we choose our time, we trade it with money. So it's going to be true in every case, be it are you in a job, you are a freelancer, or you are a business owner. So I still understand that I need to work at least a few hours every single day. And secondly, I also have accepted that this is the money that I can make. If I spend more time, I can make more money. And I have accepted that this is the balance or the equilibrium I want to maintain. So, for example, this year, I'll be pretty much happy if I can 2x my income while traveling the world for the entire year. Because if you think about it like this, Vedant, if you truly understand the power of compounding, 2x this year, let's say I'm making my annual income is 10 lakh rupees. Okay. If I can 2x this year, it will be 20. Next year, if I can 2x it again, it will be 40, then 80. So that is my basic goal for the entire year, that if I can 2x my 2020 income, I'll be pretty much happy. And again, I realized this is what I want. And I don't want to get consumed by idea of what others say is success. I just want to have my own understanding that this is what I want.
Right. So essentially, what you're saying is it was not the voice of your own, it was the
Mm-hmm.
voice of other people, of the internet, of the external world that wanted you to just keep pursuing undesirable goals that were not aligned with your own true voice. And so you were successfully able to just filter out and find your and connect with your own voice. And that's when you realized, okay, now the being the multi-billionaire is not something that is my dream. Can you explain that a bit more? Why did you return back from that goal? Why did you, what made you just take a step back and think that, okay, that's not something that I want to do, and there's something even better that I could do? What's your take on that?
So, see, again, being a billionaire simply for me means first doing the mathematics. So,
Hmm.
a billionaire in today's India means you have a business that is generating you at least 7,200 crore rupees every
Hmm.
single year.
Hmm.
Now, having a business like that, you need hundreds of employees. Okay, you need to have a huge office. Me as a person, I'm a very introverted person. I don't want to talk to hundreds of people every single day, or even tens of people every single day. I wanted a business where I could talk to one or two people or three people maximum, and that too a couple of times a week, and then focus on doing what I can do better and create more skills and help more people. So even if you think about being a billionaire, there are two kinds through which you can be one. Either you can go for the masses, which is like 80%, and you can go for the classes, which is like 20%. So Apple caters to the classes, it sells high-end products, while other companies they focus on the masses like Redmi and all the other companies. So I realized that okay, so if I can grow my skill set at, let's say I am charging $10,000 for someone's consulting, okay, then I can get to 10 clients easily or 20 clients easily. That means I can become a millionaire. And then, is this something I want? Yes. What is it that I'll be trading off now after becoming a millionaire to become a billionaire? So the basic understanding is that I'll be spending more time. Now, again, why? So I have to ask myself, why do I want to make more money? Okay, so I want to make more money because I want XYZ. So is this XYZ important? Is it a need or is it a want? Okay, it's a want. So why do I want this? Where did this want come into my head? Which one was the person, or where did I consume something that put the seed of want in me? and that is how you get most of the answers. So that is how even I feel that okay, I don't want to be a billionaire, because one, I don't want to build such a huge office, such a huge team, and secondly, I would rather want to have more time freedom to do what I want. And it means even if I have to take entire 2 years off, I can do it,
Hmm.
and I don't have to worry about money. So that's the kind of lifestyle I want to build, and I am creating for myself, where I have limited people I'm accountable to, I'm doing what I love, and again, I am having the time freedom and the financial freedom to do what I love.
Completely agree. And yeah, thanks for sharing that, Srijan. So
Yeah.
you talk about finances and you understand the fact that finance and money is something that is very important for us, but
Hmm.
it's us who define how much is required for us to live the dreams, to hear our own voice. And so
Hmm.
uh, what do you do to manage your finances? Like, you've been getting good revenue, you've been driving in profits for yourself. Now what do you do with the money, and what are some principles of money and finances that you swear by? How do you invest your money?
Okay. So my money advice is mostly unpopular. Most of the
Mhm.
people don't want it because it's
Lovely.
not again selling you the dream.
Uh-huh.
So the first one is live below your means. Okay. So it always means that if you can spend 100 rupees, try spending 10 first. See if you can get what you want out of 10. And I'll tell you something. Okay. So if you, I also recorded a podcast episode on this recently. If you think about it, the money that we make, okay, what does it do? Money is just a tool with which you are actually, paying for something and getting something in return. So if I have a comb here, okay, so this is a tool for me, I can just comb my hair with it. Now most of the people, they get attached with the idea of money, because what they don't understand is that money is a tool which is getting you something, which gets you a feeling of something. So if I spend 1 lakh rupees today in getting an iPhone, then that iPhone is giving me a feeling of high. It's increasing the dopamine in my head. It is increasing my perceived social status. And that is why people think, oh, I want more money. But what they're not understanding is they want more of these gadgets, which increase their social status, which increase the high. So that is one thing. Secondly, you need to again understand, if you have the money today, what if there is no money tomorrow? Because even if you are in a job, even if you are in a business, it happens. 2020 taught us that. And I have been a person who has taken loan 4 times as of now, thrice from the market, once from private institutions. So I know how difficult it is when you have to put your own house on mortgage, or you have to, like we had to put one of our partner's house on the mortgage, how difficult that is. So I value money. I have seen the importance of money when I was growing up. So I, as a person, value money very, very dearly. I don't spend it unnecessarily. Every single month, I have a mobile app where I plan my entire month that, okay, this is going to be my budget for expenses. This is going to be my budget for needs. This is going to be my budget for wants. This is going to be my travel budget, etc., etc. And that is how I plan it, because most of the people don't understand money because money has never been taught to us.
Right.
Today, you can tell me 2 plus 2 is 4 because you have been taught mathematics for 14 months, 14 years. But had you been taught money for 14 months, you would be in a much better place. Half of the companies in the world will shut down if you understand how money works. Because once you realize that, oh, if I'm spending even 10,000 rupees on a month, every single month on something that I don't need. And if you invest that money, at the end of the year, you are having 1,20,000 rupees plus. Even if I say that you are getting just 10% post inflation return, it means that you are getting 1,32,000 rupees, which is going to be compounded next year. So that is there. And lastly, I would say always, always, always understand that money replenishes. So the good thing about this is that even if you are in a job, even if you are in a business, money will always come again, which means that you can invest it. You can invest it in your own self. You can invest it in your skills, in your knowledge, having good coaches, having good mentors. You can invest it in mutual funds, equity, property, gold, whatever you want to do. But create that investing mindset, because until and unless you are not ready to invest, you cannot grow. And most of the people in the world, like I was telling you earlier as well, people I'm meeting in Goa, they're spending, if they're making 50,000 rupees a month, they're spending 45,000 rupees a month. They are not understanding that this money may go over one day.
Right.
And just to add one last example here, recently I purchased a OnePlus 8T and a DSLR. Okay, both of them for around 1 lakh rupees. And do you know, Vidhan, how much did I pay for them?
1 lakh rupees?
Zero.
So you mean to say that your investments money, that the money that worked for you bought
Yeah,
that? You mean to say
yeah,
that? Yeah, right.
yeah. So I had been investing very small amount, like 9,000 rupees a month
Mm-hmm.
since 3 years. And by the time that investment got complete, like I had thought of 3 year duration. Okay. So 9,000 rupees for 3 years, like it becomes 1 lakh 8,000 rupees. For 3 years, it becomes 3 lakh 24,000 rupees. By the time I cashed it out, it was around 4 lakh 80,000 rupees,
Mm-hmm.
which means 1,40,000 rupees was my accumulated interest. And
Mm-hmm.
again, like I told you, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad a long time back. He talks about this, that his wife came wanted a car once. So they made their money work for them. The money
Right,
that they made
right,
in
right,
return, they
right,
purchased the car.
right,
So that is my basic philosophy. Even right now that I'm traveling, I'm using the remaining balance from my investment, like
right.
the earned interest.
Dude, I did a podcast episode. It's called
Hmm.
The Secret Sauce of Getting Rich. I mentioned 80% of the things that you said, word by word, word by word.
Okay.
I mentioned the same example by Rich Dad Poor Dad. It was the example
Huh.
of me getting my Buds Plus.
Okay.
These are my Samsung Galaxy Buds Plus. I was well off with my normal earphones, but
Hmm.
this was a luxury. It was not needed. It was my want. And so I, because I wanted it, I used my returns from my stocks and not the
Okay.
money that I traded with time. I also
Uh-huh.
mentioned that money is a tool and most things, and how Rich Dad Poor Dad has impacted my life. So
Mhm.
great work, man. And now tell me more, where do you invest your money? And also, on a side note, were you invested while the market crashed in the last March?
So yeah, uh, the shorter answer, yeah, I was invested, but I did not have any more money to put
Okay,
in the market, so I
to
could not.
enter. Okay.
Yeah, because COVID started in Wuhan, and
Hmm.
that is where our dropshipping facility or factory was, where we were sourcing most of the product. So
Oh.
last year we had a huge, huge, huge loss, because of which we had to
Oh.
take two huge loans, which we paid
Oh.
off this December. So that is why, again, like last year I could not invest much when the market went down. But as of now, like where do I invest? So let's say today I make 100 rupees every month, okay, or 1 lakh rupees every month. So if I'm at home, my monthly expenses are under 8,000 rupees,
Right.
okay. And right now, as I'm traveling, it's around 40,000 rupees. So that is my monthly expense, including everything. The second one is my investment. Now, I have a safety net, okay, which is like 6 months of my expense in my bank account as a fixed deposit. So, or look, like you can get a liquid debt fund, that is also an option. So that is one. So now when I had that safety net, my next step is that I invest at least 55,000 rupees every single month without a fail.
Right.
Now, in these 55,000 rupees, I would, or 60,000, I would take 10,000 rupees and put it aside as my learning fund. So
Okay. Okay.
recently on Diwali, I purchased 65 books for 11,000 rupees.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, that's my like, that's when I use
I
learning
think
fund.
that's a
Abhi
good
recent,
deal. That's a good deal, I think.
they were at 25,000 rupees. I used a couple of basic hacks on Amazon. I got them from 11,000, so I was pretty happy.
That's crazy. That's a good deal, definitely.
Yeah. And in January, I paid for two mentorships, two courses. So I paid almost in January and February a total of like $2,200, which is 1,80,000. So again, I have been saving some money every single month to do these things. And again, that is how I do it in the first step. Second is investing into equity. So
Directly equity
I
or through mutual funds?
Yeah, through mutual funds. It could be stocks. I'm not into stocks yet, so I'm
Okay.
investing through mutual funds. I'm researching around stocks.
Hmm.
So that is the second one. Third one is where I go for PPF, which is again debt. But the reason I go for it is because it gives you a tax exemption of 1.5 lakh rupees. Fourthly, I won't call it a direct investment, but it's a health insurance, a life insurance, for which I pay around 40,000 rupees a year,
Hmm.
because I believe these are two things that you should definitely have.
100%.
Um, yeah, and lastly, I've also been invested into crypto since 2017, like Bitcoin and all of these.
Oh,
So
interesting.
yeah,
Tell
I
me
lost.
more about your portfolio there.
Okay, so at one point of time in 2017, I was at 3.5x. So if I had put 1 lakh rupees, I had got 3.5 lakh rupees, and this too in just 3 weeks.
Hmm.
Now, what happened was that when you get fast money, it is never sustainable.
Right,
Okay,
right, right.
so it
Money
goes
that
away as
comes
soon as
quickly
it
goes
came.
quickly, goes back the
Yeah,
same way. Yeah.
I'll tell you a beautiful analogy. So if you're standing on beach
Hmm.
and if you're putting your feet on the sand and the water comes in, the
Yeah.
water goes out.
Uh-huh.
And when you see the sand where you were standing, there is also now a cavity. Water takes away some part of the sand.
Right.
So when money that you earned quickly goes back, it definitely takes some more money.
Mm.
So that is what I did in 2017. We had at one point of time 3.5x. Greed took over me. I thought कि अभी तो ये बढ़ेगा. अभी तीन
हाँ,
हफ्ते में it is at
लॉजिक
3.5x.
कुछ होता नहीं है उसमें.
And one of my coaches, one of our business coaches, he told us that cash it out. You are crazy. And it was a huge amount. Like it was 90% of my and my business partner's life saving. And I had invested on both of our,
That's
like, what do you
big
say?
risk, man.
Yeah, and in the next 1.5 months the money started going down, and in the next 3 months I was at 90% down. So if I had invested 1 lakh rupees, which were at one point of time 3.5 lakh rupees, now I was down to 10,000 rupees. So I
Mm.
took 2018 off because
Did you book your
there was a,
losses there? Did you guys book your losses there?
yeah,
You
booked
did?
the losses.
Fuck.
Yeah, so there is something called as getting balls of steel in Wall Street.
Uh-huh.
So that is what happened in 2018. So I, as a person, I'm never afraid of losing money. Okay, so a big reason is because I have earned and I have lost it a lot of times. But I, as a person, I'm also a huge poker lover. So I understood one thing, that one, money is a zero sum game, which means that if I lost money, it must be that someone else made money through my loss.
Okay.
So now what I have to do is I have to get smarter than most of the people, like 99% people. So I can be this person who takes money from other people,
Mm-hmm.
of course, legally, like in
Mm-hmm.
the stocks and everything. So that is how I transitioned into 2019. I started thinking about that, hey, let me now do something around with the funds that I had left. And what I did was I got on a consultation call with three different experts. So that is the first thing that I will tell people, that if you want to learn about finance or any single thing, go on consultation call with people who are experts into that field.
Okay.
Like pay for their advice. And I paid almost like 18, 20,000 rupees for 3 hours of three people's consultation, like total 3 hours. And all of them suggested me some projects. So I invested into them. In 2020, that money went like 2x. So I was pretty happy that, okay, so I'm now understanding how this is working. From September and October, I started learning more about these things actively. Like I was doing a little bit every single day, but now I thought, okay, so let me try my hand at trading and investing,
Mm.
and let's see, because I was always again fascinated with the concept of money. So from 2020 September, October until now, we have gone 3x the portfolio. So if I had at one point of time invested 1 lakh rupees, which went to 3.5, then came back to 10. Now this 10,000 rupees right now is at 60,000 rupees. And by the end of the Feb, I'm pretty sure that we would be recouping all the losses that we booked in 2018. And simply
2018.
because, yeah, I spent a lot of time. And as for the portfolio, again, I'm a very aggressive investor. So my current portfolio is 15% into Bitcoin, 5% into Ethereum and Litecoin, which we consider as the large caps. Then
Okay.
30% is into mid caps like ARV, Uni, Link, Dot,
This is your
and
100% cryptocurrency portfolio you're talking of?
yeah, right now just talking about the crypto.
Okay, okay, okay. Cool, go ahead.
And
Hmm.
50% into small caps like GRT, Theta. Now they are not exactly small caps, but Acro, Reef, so OXT, Orchid, all of these projects. Now, as for like this, I don't have any stocks as of now, but for mutual funds, I have a couple of funds. So one is UTI index fund, which
Mm-hmm.
basically focuses on the entire index funds of the market.
Smart.
The second one is, I think, S&P 500. It's an
Mm.
index fund of US.
Index fund
So
as
I've,
well. Of US. Okay,
yeah,
yes, yes, yes.
yeah,
S&P 500.
I have taken that
Okay.
because it outperformed the Indian fund in the last decade.
Uh-huh.
The third one is Access Blue Chip. Access Mid Cap, and Access Small Cap. So I have those three funds as well.
Interesting. And that's the best thing to do for anyone who doesn't know a lot about stocks and who doesn't want to, put in a lot of energy and a lot of time to do the research, to find the business plans, to find the fundamentals of the company, to make sure
Mhm.
they're invested in the index funds,
Right.
because 90% of the mutual funds are always beaten by the index, and the index always beat the market. So ride along
Right.
the index fund wave. It's as well very feasible when compared with the fee of someone who is actively managing the portfolio, right?
Mhm.
So index funds is something really smart. And uh,
Definitely.
I would want to stop you on the Bitcoin portfolio thing. That's
Mhm.
some really deep insights that you guys have taken to get reinvested in the Bitcoin. How do you define a small scale, Karo? How would you define a large cap and a small cap and a mid cap crypto? What's the
Okay.
bar that defines this?
So anything for me personally under $250 million as the total
For
market
you
cap is
personally, for you, is it no factual numbers?
nothing. Like
Okay,
like I told
okay,
you,
okay.
crypto is not regulated.
Right, exactly. It's not.
So
That's why I
anything
was,
that
I
yeah,
was
anything that you
wondering.
create is of your own metric, your own
Okay,
yardstick.
all right, all right, all right. Got you, got you,
Yeah.
got you. Perfect. Thanks. And lovely insights on your portfolio. So you were telling me out of the 60,000, so take for example 1 lakh that you're making, you
Mhm.
invest back 60,000 or
Right.
55,000 at least. So you
Yeah.
take out 10,000 for investing in your own personal growth, right? It could be on
Right.
books, it could be on courses. Then what other percentage of funds do you invest, and do you put it in a disciplined way?
I would say 40,000 goes into mutual funds.
Okay,
And of course, out of those 40, like I would not exactly 40, I would say 30 because 10,000 is your PPF and
okay, okay.
LIC and the health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And the remaining 10,000, they go into crypto.
Okay, they're going to crypto.
Yeah.
Cool, cool, cool. All right. Huh, I could go on and talk about this a lot because last year, when the pandemic started, I had
Uh-huh.
a lot of liquid funds with me, and I had always waited for in my office, everyone was like investing in crypto. It was 2017. Everyone was
Right.
investing in cryptos. I didn't understand that. Nobody understands the logic as of yet. Anyway,
Hmm.
it's just smarter to hedge it in a way that even if it goes down, your entire portfolio doesn't suck up. So you can just be
Right.
smart at that. Other than that, there's no logic. So I didn't understand that. Second, everyone was investing in stocks and everywhere because everything was rising, and then
Hmm.
again there was no logic in it. I didn't understand that, and I didn't have a lot of money through my job wherein I could be trading so much of my time to constantly check the stocks without knowing much about it. So I completely
Right.
ditched doing it. I thought I would better trade off my time in studying for CAT and everything else. That would have a better trade off for me in terms of
Right.
money. But then when
Yeah.
this pandemic started and the markets were bloodshot, they were red. And I recalled all the books that I read. It was The Man in Babylon, Rich Dad Poor Dad, Ray Dalio's advice. And I keep listening to
Hmm.
these podcasts and everyone. And so I realized, okay, this is such a good time to be invested in. I spent
Right.
16 hours every day, 16 to 18 hours every day, straight 2 months. I watched documentaries only of money. I watched movies only of money. I would discuss with friends everything and only about finances and money. And I
Hmm.
would watch YouTube only about money, books about money. And I went all in. I aggressively invested during the uh, from March to say September. I aggressively invested in the stock markets, and now I'm enjoying really good returns. And that
Yeah.
was something that I really wanted to do since a long time, to spare 6 months of my life
Hmm.
after having automated my businesses where I could completely learn about stocks and investing, so I could use my money to compound in the stocks and to, learn and actually know what I'm doing there. So that was
Hmm.
beautiful. That's something beautiful that happened, and I we can go ahead and talk a lot about it, but we might as well do a separate episode on it. So moving
Sure.
forward, Srijan, tell
Yeah.
me, what has been one apparent failure or something that looked like very bad phase of your life, some a very major dip, but when the time unfolded and you look back at it, it was one of the best things that happened to you. And that actually changed the trajectory of your life. So I would call it a failure, a favorite failure. What's your favorite failure been?
So usually when someone asks me this question, I ask them to define failure in this case you did, like the dip and something. So I'll tell you something interesting, okay? At one point of time in my school, I was bullied a lot. And growing up, I had a lot of fights, not entirely my own, but I was a couple of times beaten as well. And when I started my own startup, I thought that now that I have the time freedom, like after 2017, when I was getting like good money and sustainable money, I thought that let me now learn some hand-to-hand combat form. So I went to learn mixed martial arts. Okay. So what happened was on the first couple of days, the like I did a lot of research. I went to a lot of different institutes, different dojos, and I finally found one really good one. And the first couple of days, like when I joined, my what we call as Sifu as the teacher, he did not let me even get into the field because every time he would ask me why do you want to learn, I would say to hit back if someone attacks me.
Okay.
So one day I curiously asked him that, why do you not let me enter? And he told me that, do you know which are the best fights? I say where you knock out someone with one punch. And he says that no, the best fights are the one that never happen.
Wow, powerful. That's powerful.
So I was like, okay. And then since I was full of how we say Joshila, like full of enthusiasm, 1 week I was in the training for 1 week. It used to be 2-3 hours every single day. And after 1 week, I was again bubbling with excitement. I went to him. I said, I want to spar with other people. And he said that you are not ready. And I was like, okay. Then another couple of days went. I went to him again. Another couple of days went. I went to him again. He kept on saying no. And finally, one day I said that you don't trust me enough. And he said, okay, come on, let's try it out. And there was this guy who was sparring, and he took me along with him. He said that, okay, like you just have to uh, stand in this ring for 3 minutes, which is one round. And I kid you not, Vidhan, like as soon as he said go, I could not, in the blink of that, like that guy who was standing 10 feet away from me, he came and he punched me and I legit flew, okay. And I fell back unconscious, like knocked out.
Damn.
And this episode repeated 3 to 4 times. So my biggest takeaway from that was one, overexcited people often get knocked out by life.
Right.
Two, if you get knocked out, then you should have the balls to get up again. So I
Powerful.
had a record at one point of time that in 1 month, if there was one guy who had fell unconscious, the most number of times was me. But I also had another record that if I had fell unconscious 35 times, I stood up 36 times.
Right.
So that is still my approach for failure because see, if you are you are at the bottom, you're at the rock bottom that a lot of people talk about. And I believe you keep on finding the rock bottom deeper and deeper and deeper into life. If you are at the rock bottom, you can't go anywhere down, at least for now.
Right.
So the best you can do is you can stand up and you can go on again. And as for the failure, I believe every single thing that has happened in life, I don't see it as failure, or I don't see it as, I don't like to put labels on things.
Right.
So I just think of these things that, okay, these are incidents that taught me something. They humbled me down. Even to this guy with whom I sparred, I'm really thankful to him because I'll tell you something fun. So later on, I got to know that this guy represents India on the international stage. And there was no one else in his weight category. Like he was 6 feet tall, and I was the only one in the gym. So we became really good friends as well. But again, I got to understand that this was a blessing in disguise because now I have got higher endurance since I was sparring with someone who is at an international stage
Right. Right. Right.
as compared to someone who is sparring with people who are just at the same level.
Right.
So that is why I believe that you again, even if you're being beaten down by life, you are facing a lot of failures. One thing I've always learned is that if you have like-minded people around you, if you have community of people, different friends around you who are on the same path, life becomes much simpler. And I still owe 99.99% of things I have learned and all of my success to people who helped me reach here because always tell people, like, for me, I would say 70% is luck as a factor of my success. Agar, if even not one person was there in my journey, it would have been very different.
Right. So it's the support system that, as I call it, the support
Yeah,
system that really helps you thrive, that keeps you from that helps you get back up every time you fall. Right. It
yeah.
becomes very hard to stand back up if you don't have a support system. And for that matter, I also believe that when you fall,
Mhm.
nobody comes when you fall in the initial times, you have to get back up by yourself.
Right.
And when you do that, others watch you. And when others watch you, they grow confident for you. And
Yeah,
the next time you fall, they become more confident. Okay, he'll get back up. And so they clap. All right, it's fine. You can do that again.
yeah,
And so you fall, you get back up. You fall, you get back up. And now every time you stand, people clap. That helps you get back up again. And absolutely, man. It's you,
yeah.
and you called that what define failures, and you said that failures. I also like to call them apparent failures and not just
Mhm.
failures. They look bad in this particular moment in time, but with the
Mhm.
unfolding of time, you cannot just really look back at something and say, okay, this was really bad. This really sucked. It was
Mhm.
nothing was completely black and white, right?
Mhm. True. And just to add one more thing there, the
Mm,
biggest lesson for me in 2020 was that, like you talked about people who get back up
mm,
and the people around, they grow more confident. So 2020 hit all of us really bad. And I know a lot of people along with me who were in a pretty bad state, huge, huge, huge losses. And I also know a lot of people who were just starting out who were terrified. And now, since I was already, like, had so many such failures or beaten down by life so many times, that I knew that again, ho jayega, manage
mm,
ho jayega.
right,
So I was trying to talk to them, I was trying to boost their confidence. And one thing that I realized in 2020 was, you can't help someone get what they want until and unless they don't want it more badly than you want it for them.
right. Thank you. That's something I need to keep in mind.
Yeah. And that is why I had to let go of a lot of people and let them find their own way, because you can't have that protective instinct and not, like,
Right,
push them that
right,
I'm with you, I'm with you. No, if they don't want you to be around, if they don't want to face the, let's say, problem head on, you have to respect it and you have to let them do what they want.
right, right. In fact,
Because people who often stand up have this problem that they can't see other people lying down.
right, absolutely, absolutely. Especially
You were saying something. Yeah.
especially when you know that you've been there and you know
Hmm.
that this is not the way you're going to get back up. And so
Right.
we want them to know that, okay, you need to do this, you need to do that. And you're absolutely right. It, in fact, I learned it recently by reading the book Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. Have you read that book?
No.
No, it's a wonderful book, man. Yeah. I would ask you questions around books, but
Hmm.
I learned the lesson there that, and I learned what I learned was that everyone has their own journey, and
Hmm.
every journey will unfold different learnings for other people. And you cannot, learnings is not something that can be imposed on other people. It
Hmm.
has to be experienced. If somebody can take learnings from other people, learn from their experiences by visualizing it, by empathizing with it, by really being conscious about it well enough, good enough.
Hmm.
But most people, I believe, they learn through their own experiences. And most importantly, you cannot impose learnings on other people. You
True.
It's on us that we impart the learnings that we have learned after our failures, after getting back up, after having gained things in life. But
Hmm.
then again, we cannot impose it to other people and
True.
enforce them, right? So tell me some top three book suggestions that you would have for other people. And
Ah.
it could be the books that you like to gift the most to other people. And what
Hmm.
would be the three books and why?
The first book is Mahabharat, which is
Mahabharata.
my
Okay.
favorite book.
Okay.
Yeah. Second one is Srimad Bhagavad Gita, which I like to gift mostly. The third one is Chanakya Niti and Arthashastra. The fourth one I would say is Tuesdays with Maury. So
Oh wow,
those,
yeah.
yeah, those are my top four. Now I'll tell you something really interesting which I recently shared on some different streams.
Please do. Yeah.
You know, yeah, in India we have a very bad habit that we want to read the fancy titles, we want to read what is happening elsewhere in the world. And I took a course last year and I paid $6,000 for the program. And the first thing that my coach told me is that read this book by Stephen Covey, The Great Work of Your Life, something like that, if I'm getting the name wrong. So when I started reading the book, the author tells directly that, this book is based on his interpretation and his experience with Srimad Bhagavad Gita.
Oh.
Then when I read the book half, I already could see some flaws as well, like some things he had quoted or he did not understood right. So after that, I went to my coach. I said, "Great it. Now tell me two people I should follow." And he said, one, Jeff Bezos, second, Ratan Tata. And I was surprised. I was like, okay. So then I asked him more, like, so you mentioned Ratan Tata, like, do you follow Indian people? Do you follow the works? And he told me that he had read Bhagavad Gita. Right now, he was reading Chanakya Niti. He loved the books and he could see how these things apply. And that is when I learned that today in our country, the culture is to downplay our own stuff and applaud the stuff that is happening in the world,
Mm.
while the world is applauding what we have,
Mm.
and they are getting more inspired. Like, I'm paying $6,000 to someone to realize that he is recommending me to learn from Ratan Tata, learn from the books that we have commonly available. But it's us who want something fancy again, to increase the social status. Because today, if I tell someone that this is my favorite book, most of the people look at me like, oh, buddha aa gaya. And I'm like, okay,
Uh-huh.
that's your perception, but
Uh-huh.
I can't help it. Like, you have a bad choice, not me.
Right. So if you had to uh you've been into the digital business industry, you've been an
Yeah,
internet entrepreneur since like forever, you've
yeah.
stepped directly into it. So
Mm-hmm.
if you had to start again from
Hmm.
0 to like 90 days, start from scratch
Hmm.
and make it the most profitable. It could be a combination of different businesses, of different tools.
Hmm.
It could be affiliate marketing, including other things, everything. What would be the cocktail that you would do? Or it could be diving into one thing only. What would you do from scratch until 90 days to make it the most profitable with the existing skills that you have?
Okay, so I like to quote an example here. Have you read this book, The Millionaire Next Door?
I have read the summary. I've quickly gone through it. Not read there. Yeah. No.
Okay, so there is this story about this guy who becomes a millionaire multiple times. He comes back down every single time. He becomes a millionaire next time, even a bigger millionaire. Then again down, high, low, high, low. And everyone is astonished that, dude, how can you become a millionaire so fast? Like, what is it that you do? You don't have a team, you don't have a product, you don't have an office. What is it that you do? And he says, I solve problems. Bigger problems means bigger money. Smaller problems means smaller money. So what I do is I go into a state, I go into a city, I see what is the upper middle class society or the neighborhood. I take a property there on rent. I start meeting people on Saturdays and Sundays. I start networking with them. And I start solving their problems. If someone tells me that he can't have a sales closer in his team, he needs to hire a few people. He has a budget of $200,000, let's say, as their salary for this team. I'll help him get this thing done. I have my own contacts. I act as a bridge. I act as a connector. I take a piece of commission and I move on. Similarly, if someone tells me that he's looking for someone to acquire his property or he's looking to sell his property to someone, I'll act as the middleman. I'll get someone to buy the property if I know someone, and I'll again take a piece of the pie. So that I believe is what I have been doing in the beginning of my life, like in the business life. And that is what I would do again, because this is called arbitrage. You find a like vendor, you find a buyer, a supplier and buyer, and you bridge the gap. And this is the simplest way. You don't need any upfront investment. You don't need any special skills. All you need is a good communication skills, and you find things that people already want. So that is another way of affiliate marketing as well, but arbitrage is even simpler. You don't have to take care of anything. So I'll give you an example of real life how we did this. We had a person who wanted to get her PhD thesis done, but she was doing something more important at that time. She said, my budget of this is 2 lakh rupees. We found a writer for her thesis. She charged 70,000 rupees. We got 1,30,000 rupees as net profit. Pretty sorted.
Simple. Everyone wins.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
So that's the simplest one.
Great. So, in the last 5 years, since you've
Hmm.
been in the entrepreneurial journey, in the last
Hmm.
5 years, what new belief or behavior or
Hmm.
habit has most improved your life?
So 5 years is a huge time, man. Like I would say I can tell you about the last few months. So I have a few habits which have helped me really. Like one is reading,
Hmm.
one is being in sports, being in fitness. Third is understanding nutrition. So I have a goal that I want to live 150 years. Okay,
Oh,
and
crazy.
that too like eating clean.
Right.
So nutrition is huge for me. The fourth one I would say is understanding the finance part of my own life, personal finance, money, investing. As of now, the new habit that I've picked is building a morning routine. Um, Learning how to meditate, that is something I'm learning. These are few habits that have helped me a lot. And again, self-discipline. I'm not the most disciplined person on
Right.
earth, but yeah, I am building that habit right now, being self-disciplined. And other than that, a few skills that I'm looking to learn this year is one, upgrading my cooking skills. Second, swimming, and I'm also looking to learn salsa or something like that.
I love
So I
that, man.
believe, yeah, you like I always believe that I love going to events that are not connected to my industry. I love talking to people. At one point of time, I considered people who purchase art as foolish, stupid people when I was young and naive. But now I understand that you can't grow directly into something until and unless you are growing in other directions of life. So that is why I keep on learning things that don't help me directly, but they help me become a better person.
Right. I love that, man. I love the things that you're chasing, the skills that you're trying to build now. And kudos to you, man. So,
Yeah.
my last question before we dive into the final round would be
Uh-huh.
doing content creation, getting
Hmm.
into these things, doing businesses, it
Hmm.
gets overwhelming. It can take a toll on us. So,
Hmm.
when you feel overwhelmed or unfocused, or you
Hmm.
have lost your focus temporarily, what do you
Hmm.
do
Take a break.
and do what?
Nothing.
There's
Which
a
is the biggest
big,
thing in the world.
exactly. So, doing nothing could mean to someone doing nothing productive, and doing nothing to someone could mean doing nothing that stimulates my mind, or doing nothing that, you know, just being in peace or things like it to regain or recharge our energy. So, what exactly do you do?
So it mostly is like situation specific, but most of the cases I do nothing. So I have 2 days where what I do with Han is like I sit with myself and do nothing. Like I'm not reading, I'm not talking, I'm not sleeping. I'm just sitting.
Not sleeping?
That not sleeping. Like in those 6 or 8 hours, I'm
Okay,
not
okay.
reading, I'm not sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just sitting doing nothing. So one thing I like, if you do that, you'll realize that even silence has a sound.
Right.
So that is one of my favorite things because what happens is that there is a lot of stuff that we are constantly accumulating and compartmentalizing in our head.
Mm.
And when you are doing nothing, your brain gets a chance to help formulate and then decompose all of it,
Right.
which it does not need.
Right.
And secondly, I also believe that the hustle culture is over glorified. Wearing your what do we say tiredness and wearing that low energy as badge of honor as medal of honor is very much glorified. I
Right.
don't believe in that. I was a workaholic for 3 years of my life. I worked 14 hours a day, did not take any day off. I considered it to be a good thing, but then I realized it's foolishness,
Mm-hmm.
it's stupidity. So
Right.
right now I believe in taking a lot of breaks. So in these 25 days I have hardly worked 3 hours a day. I read, I meet new people, I learn from them. I'm meeting great people, doing things that I always wanted to do. And I again know that this is the time when I am rejuvenating myself, which is very much needed. Because if I don't do that, I can't get into the head game of being more focused. Because see, most of the people don't know how to stay focused, because just like money, focus has never been taught to us. People want to stay focused, but we have been taught distraction all of our life.
Right. We've been taught distraction.
So to learn how to stay focused, for me, I have never learned how to stay focused. I've just learned how to not stay
Distracted.
unfocused. Yeah.
That's the way to go
So
about it.
I just find out things. So in these times, when I'm doing nothing, when I'm just roaming around the city, I actually think about my whole day. What I do. What is it that distracts me? What is it that I am yearning for? What is it that is stopping me? What is it that is always stopping me to do something, which is pulling me aside? And I start eliminating those things. It's like sometimes when you are mowing down the grass, when you are maintaining all the plants, you have to go to the top floor. You have to see how it looks from the top,
Right.
because it may be looking beautiful from here, but it may be looking shitty from there.
Right.
And I don't know if you have watched that movie Now You See Me, but
I have, but I don't know. I'll be able to recall it. I have.
there is a very beautiful dialogue in the beginning of the in the beginning credits of the movie, that the closer you look, the lesser you see.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I definitely
So
understand this concept though.
yeah.
I definitely do use it in a lot of things, in a lot of conversations with my friends, that okay, you like this happens, no, we can be good at giving advices to other people, but when we
Hmm.
get stuck into the same situation, the things
Right.
and the problems are so close to us that we can't see things clearly. But
Right.
somebody else can get a 30,000 foot view of the things, and he can see the problems clearly, and they can
Hmm.
find out, okay, this is the problem. And I now understand how doing nothing would take us away from the problems and essentially give us a 30,000 foot view. And that's
Okay.
what I'm going to do next time, man. I am
Yeah.
just going to do nothing, sit by myself,
Yeah.
face myself, and do nothing for at least a day, at least 4 5 hours. I usually try to get more into books. I would try to write down things. I would try to solve the problem consciously again. But the key is to let your subconscious take over, right? If I'm not wrong.
Ask yourself this question: are you constantly trying to solve the problem, or are you constantly trying to create an image in your brain that you are trying to solve the problem?
Hmm. That's essentially what we're doing, right? Trying to create the
Yeah.
image that that we are trying to solve the problem.
Yeah, because as soon as you understand that most of the things that we do are to satiate that image, to uplevel our social status, even amongst our own self,
Hmm.
when we are looking at the mirror, things change. And I'll add just one more thing. So when I have lost my focus, I feel that I'm doing nothing. I sleep a lot. I sleep even 12, 14 hours a day. I love sleeping.
Okay.
So yeah, that helps me a lot. Abibi, I was for the first 17 days of my solo travel, I was sleeping 12 hours a day. Easy, like 12 hours.
Cool. I cannot. I cannot. I remember this quote from Tuesdays with Maury. In fact,
Uh-huh.
when you're in bed, you're dead. And
Yeah.
stays with me. This stays with me for people who stay in bed for longer hours. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, this stays with me when people stay at bed for long hours, who
Uh-huh.
usually sleep for so long,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
and the hustle part would be, the
Uh,
toxic hustle culture would be to sacrificing your sleep. So
right.
my optimum would always be somewhere around 7 8, and I always try to maintain that. But 8 ghante
Yeah.
se upar whenever it gets, uh,
Uh,
beyond 9 hours, I feel that okay, I'm wasting my time. I
so I don't sleep 12 hours in one stretch. It's like 8 to 9 hours in once, and
uh-huh.
then 3 hour nap in the afternoon.
Okay, that should work,
Yeah.
that should work, yeah. Nice. So, another question, a very important
Hmm.
one would be, what bad recommendations do you see the most in your field of expertise?
Hmm. So this is a very like funny question, because day before yesterday someone was asking on Facebook that what financial advice do you have for me, and people were jumping in, people were telling him, and it's like, you don't take advice from random people on the internet about things that are so important to you. So the first one is taking advice from anyone and everyone who is not qualified. So just because someone had their best month yet does not mean they can help you solve the problem. So people love giving advice to others, like you were saying earlier. And इंडिया में ना हर घर में राय और चाय फ्री मिलती है. सो दैट्स व्हाट आई हैव सीन. लाइक आप किसी के पास बैठो वो आपको ये बता देगा कि देश कैसे चलाना है, दुनिया कैसे चलानी है, हम चांद पे कैसे पहुंच सकते हैं, बट उसकी खुद की ज़िंदगी अभी बर्बाद हो रखी है. सो
Hmm.
दैट इज़ द फर्स्ट वन. सेकेंड वन, यू ऑल्सो नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड कि आप एडवाइस किस चीज़ पे लेना चाहते हो, because most of the people are not clear. So you must have seen that when we are talking to people, we are learning more while talking to them about us and
Us.
our problem,
Hmm.
if we are like being proactive.
Hmm.
So we have a common saying, when one speaks, two learn. So that is something I believe, that you have to have that self talk with yourself. Don't have that talk with someone else. Have a talk with yourself, because you need to be very clear. So when people come to me and they have their matlab, they talk to me about their problem. So there are three stages. First is the like dukhda. मेरे साथ जीवन में ये हुआ. My girlfriend dumped me. I had a
Hmm.
loss.
Hmm. Hmm.
Then is the story
Okay.
of how now my life is so shitty and how I can't do anything. The world is going to end.
Hmm.
Nothing is going to happen. And then finally comes the problem, that this is my current problem.
Okay.
So I always challenge people that instead of sending me such a long paragraph, just send me one sentence. Then shorter it down like two, 3 words, 2 words, 1 word. What is your problem? Because if you wouldn't do that, like, this is the best thing if you can do.
Right.
Specificity, and that too understanding with clarity.
Right. Right. So essentially, people themselves, like you said, they they don't know what their problem is, and it's only when they're expressing, then that they find out, oh, the problem is
Right.
this one. And the second part, you're right again, that it's good to help other people out, right? But tell us
Mhm.
exactly how we can help you. It and let us know whether or not it helped you or not. Give us the feedback,
Right.
because the only thing that we want is to know that something that I did was able to help you,
Mm.
right? So
True.
just drill down the things to the essence level, and not just send long. You're right about that. Cool. So we will now come down to the final round, Srijan. It was a lovely episode, and I love the discussions around everything, around finances, around internet entrepreneur, around investing. And now this round is called the Fiery Five.
Sure. And
There are
same here,
five.
by the way, Vidhaan. Like, great questions. Love the questions.
Thank you, Sajin. So, the first question from the Fiery Fire round is, what is one of the best or most worthwhile investments you've ever made? It could be investment of money, of time, of energy, whatever.
Gifting my parents their dream car or their 25th anniversary, like 25th marriage anniversary.
Beautiful, beautiful. Question number two, if you could have a gigantic billboard
Hmm.
that everyone in the world could read, and you could write one message in it, what would that read?
That's my interview question, which I ask people.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would just write, this too shall pass.
This too shall pass. Would you? Okay, it doesn't need any explanation, I believe. This too shall pass.
Yeah.
One law that if that everyone had to, if you could create one law that
Hmm.
everyone in the world had to follow,
Hmm.
what would that law be?
Compulsory military service.
Compulsory military service.
Yep. In your own country.
What would that? What are the desired outcome through this from your country?
See, if I speak in the Delhi lingo, okay, बहुत बकैत बच्चे हैं, मतलब, you know, like, people are not in their senses right now about what they want. They don't have any clarity. They don't have any discipline. And when you go and serve in the military, you get into, they break your identity first, then they make you conform to the group identity. Then you understand that there is something bigger than you, which is the country. Most of the people have made themselves the centerpiece of their life. उनसे आगे कुछ है ही नहीं. Versus when you are in a feeling of servitude, when you are understanding that you can sacrifice your life for someone else because they could do the same for you when it was the right thing,
Hmm.
that is a beautiful feeling. And most people don't get it because they haven't never served. And military is a beautiful thing. If you can get in there, if you can serve. Like that was one of the biggest things that I later on realized in my life, that I wanted to, if I would not have taken engineering, I would have gone for military.
Oh, how did you come to? Is someone close to you in the military? Was your dad?
No, no,
It was
not
not.
really. Like my grandfather was in Air Force, but still, this is something that I've observed. So if you ever see people who are in army, they are very, very disciplined. And as a child growing up, I read a lot of books, I saw a lot of movies, and I always saw that army people get a lot of respect. They are always, at the front line. And I just love that feeling that when you are getting a lot of respect and when you are disciplined, when you are fit, that is something that was very desirable for me. That is how I got motivated to even go for the fitness journey. So that is what I would say, like, should be compulsory at least 2 years.
All right. Thank you for the deep insight on it, and I think that's profound at a deeper level. So my question three to you, Srijan, would be: I've asked three already, kya?
Yeah, three
Uh,
already.
Okay. Question number fourth would be: This is a fill in the blank. Okay. Failure to me
Giving up
is giving up.
when I
Mm,
know I shouldn't.
right. Powerful.
Because when I know I shouldn't is more important than giving up.
Powerful and deep. Love that. Last question of this podcast episode: If what advice would you give to a 20-year-old who individual person who has just graduated out of college, who has just entered the real world? What advice would you give to them, and what advice should they ignore?
So they should ignore advice from random people on the internet, and they should, my advice to them would be, fail fast, fail often, and get clarity.
Lovely. Clarity through exposure of different things, right?
Yep.
Lovely.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Region. Now we would come down to sharing with everyone how they can connect with you, how they can get deeper insights on finances, on neuroscience, on personal branding, on digital marketing skills, on growing their businesses. So tell us how they can connect with you over your social media handles.
Yeah, you can find me on pretty much any social media. I have a unique name, which is very uncommon. So uh, just search for Srijan Bhardwaj on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. I don't use Twitter. So find me there. You can also listen to my podcast. It's called the Apex Alpha. Apex means someone who's at the top. Like we talk about it in terms of animal food chain. Alpha is the go-getter. So the concept behind it is the person who is always staying on the top and is a go-getter. So that is my way of documenting my journey of being an Apex Alpha and helping other people stay on the top of their game. So you can listen to that as well. And I love talking to people. If you have a question, please make it sure that it's a clear and specific question. Otherwise, I won't answer it. And if I'm in
Thank
a good mood, I might send you a sarcastic reply.
All right, Srijan. So I would link down all the social media handles of Srijan down below. So anyone who's listening to that, you can just directly tap on the links and connect with Srijan. Srijan posts amazing content on Instagram. He is the most active on Instagram, if I'm not wrong. And he posts content around personal branding, around everything that we talked of. He and the
Mhm.
introduction say justifies it. So I think I don't need to mention that, but it's definitely valuable content, very helpful content for everyone who's in their 20s. And can you just say your username? It's at the rate S Srijan Bhardwaj, right? It's
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
rate SRIJANBHARDWAJ. So
right.
anyone listening to that, this username follows on all the social media handles, right?
Yeah,
All right. And the podcast goes by the name
alpha.
The Apex Alpha. So you can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, everywhere on all your favorite streaming platforms. I'm sure he posts good content over there as well. So that was it for this podcast episode. Thank you so much, Srijan, for joining in.
Thank you so much, Vidhaan, for having me. Great conversation.
Same here, man. Thank you. Looking forward to having another conversation full blown about finances and money.
Definitely. Definitely.
All right. Have a good day, guys, and keep thriving.